Hello, my name is Cameron. You are at Letta's Office Hours. And so basically this is some amount of time from 1 hour to 2 hours, depending on how many questions there are. And I'm just going to give you like some slides that give you an overview of what's been going on in the Letta world, like some highlights. And after that, we're just going to kind of turn into like general stream chat. And so if there's like questions or anything you have, or like needs you have, or bugs that aren't addressed, or features you want, that's also a good. The Q&A section at the end will be a great time to talk about it. This will be available on YouTube for people who can't make it or can only make parts of it. And we'll put this little preview part on X as well. If you're watching this on X, then go to YouTube after the short preview to see the whole section, because the Q&A, in my view, is probably like the better part of Office Hours, because you get to hear a lot of what people are working on and thinking about. So let's go ahead and get started. Mods. We talked about mods last week. I don't know how many people were here, but we had Karen from our team here to give us a little demo about mods. And mods are basically how you or your agent can modify the harness. They can give themselves custom tools. They can have like custom reminders. They can build like modes. They can add inference providers if you're on local mode. There's all kinds of very interesting things you can do with mods to modify the harness. They're extremely powerful. So we've done a lot of work on mods, and we now have a registry. So you can go check out letta.com/agent/mods, and you'll be able to see like a list of different mods that we have. These are just a small handful of the ones that we've prepared for people. And there's also a GitHub repo that you can go to. So you can go to letta-ai/mods on GitHub, and there's a bunch of different mods that are available, how to use them, how to install them. You can install mods now directly using Letta install npm. We have a few that are hosted available, so you can add like plan mode back if you're missing plan mode. That's just a mod. You can add web search tools. There's like one for understanding images, and it's all available on this GitHub repository. And so like I like demoed a mod really quickly to give to help non-image models understand images. So there's like this image understanding mod is one that like gives your agent a tool where it can ask a vision model questions about an image. And so I'm going to keep working on the image understanding model for several reasons that we'll talk about in a second. But this is like an example of something that people may find useful if you work with like GLM or other non-multimodal models. So there's a few other examples. Charles added an analysis mode after getting frustrated with one of our internal agents. If you've ever seen Westworld, you say like halt all motor function, enter analysis mode. And so there's like a diagnostic mod that you can do with your agent. So that one's fun to check out. There's a few others in there. This one is useful. MemFS has, you can do semantic search tools for MemFS. So if you want like archival search or like vector search across like your MemFS, your agent's MemFS repository, it's actually one simple tool. This was a skill that I just converted into a mod. So you can get that as well. Your agent's mods can even modify the status line in the Letta Code terminal interface to show you what songs are currently playing, for example. So that's another example of an interesting mod. You can do all kinds of crazy stuff with mods on the harness, and we're going to hear a lot more about mods from us. We're working on some writing and things like that, but we want some help, and we want to see what people can do with mods. So we're going to be launching a 1-week mod challenge. So everybody has 1 week to submit a mod to the Letta AI mods registry. The best mod that we choose will get $100 in credits on your account, so that you can just like do whatever inference you want. Runners up will get $20 and $10. So there's going to be 3 places. In order to participate in the challenge, you're just going to have to make a mod, and that can be whatever it is that you want. Just like get creative, get useful, just show it off. Whatever you want, something that works for you, something that you think might work for other people, something that's interesting, up to you. Submit a pull request to the Letta AI registry, mods registry. Send me the email that you have for your Constellation account if you want to be eligible for credits, and send me a link to your pull request. And the deadline is midnight Pacific time, Wednesday, July 1st. So you have a week starting now, basically, or a little less than a week. So that should be like pretty straightforward. I'll put this inside of the Discord in the announcements channel as well after office hours are done. Yeah, it should be kind of fun. So let's show off show off what you can do with mods. We're still trying to figure out like all of the cool things you can do with them. And we, like we have all this stuff happening in the Slack channel where someone's like, can we do X? And you're like, oh, that's actually just kind of a mod. Like your agent can just write that. You can ask that your agent directly to write it, then just type /reload, and then it's available in the harness typically. So give it a shot. I personally think it's really cool. So yeah, just try it out. Best ways to get started. Hold on, I have to turn off this thing here. Okay. All right. Sorry for the interruption. Ask your agents about mods. They have a skill built into the harness if you're on a recent version of the Letta Code. And so they can basically walk you through how to build mods and what's possible. So just have a conversation with your agent about mods, basically. You can also check out the documentation. There is a page specifically about mods, and then there are some example mods in the Letta AI mods repository in case you want to change them. But I hope we can get some interesting ideas from you guys, because they're really cool, and we still haven't really hit limits on like all of the interesting things that you can do with them, and so we need the brain power of the masses. Okay, that's the mod challenge. Next up is Signal support. So we had a lot of requests for Signal as a Letta Code channel. So now you can talk to your agent through Signal if you would like to. So I have a phone number for my agent, and I just set up a Signal account for it, so it runs on my home server, and I can message my agent through through Signal, as well as Telegram and Discord and Slack and all of those things, all of those other channels that we support. So this is Co. You can go get a Google Voice number and set up Signal CLI. You can also make it so that Signal, like you can message yourself in the like note to self section of Signal. I personally don't like that experience. I like having a dedicated number, and I think it's like safer and just a little cleaner to have like a special number for your agent. So Signal does require a lot more support. The most agents following like a recent version of Letta Code, I don't remember the exact version number, but should have a skill to help you configure the channel, the Signal channel, if you need to. And if you run into any issues with Signal configuration, please let me know inside of the Discord. Or reach out to me wherever, and we can like figure out how to improve the experience of setting it up and using it. The reason you might want to use Signal over some of the other channels is that Signal is the most private. Discord and Telegram are really good user interfaces. Like I don't think you can beat the Telegram interface, particularly on like Mac or mobile. The Windows interface is still pretty bad, because they haven't updated the app. But the interface is really good, and the feature support in Telegram is excellent. But most of the messages that go through Telegram, particularly with bots, are visible to Telegram, like Telegram the company. They can look at your messaging. Signal doesn't have that case, right? You remove the messaging platform as somebody who can intercept your messages. Obviously, those messages, if you're using Constellation, they're still on our server, and if you are using like third-party inference providers like OpenAI or Anthropic or whatever, they can also see your messages. So just be aware that that is still something that you should be aware of. If you are a person who is self-hosting, if you're using like local mode, you can actually just do local inference and get a fully private pipeline for the most part. So this should be good if you are privacy focused or just kind of want to like limit the blast radius of your like messaging distribution or whatever. So Signal, very good. Ask your agent to help you set it up or review the docs. My agent was just able to configure it manually. It even walked me through like setting up the CAPTCHA and everything. It's a little bit of a pain because Signal is like not built for working with like automated accounts. So you do have to set up a CLI and run a daemon and all this stuff. So, but your agent should be able to help set that up with you. Just have a conversation about it directly. Okay. Dedicated GLM endpoint. So GLM 5.2 is really good. We've switched to it almost entirely for our internal software agent overlord, and I was getting frustrated with auto mode because I wanted to send image, auto mode can change. GLM 5.2 is not multimodal, and so but GLM 5.2 is kind of in the rotation for available models inside of Letta Auto. So a lot of people wanted to use GLM through our endpoints. And use their Letta Pro usage, but they didn't like that it was changing models sometimes. And Letta Auto is a good experience, but for some people who have preferences for a specific model, we just wanted to expose just GLM. Personally, it's been a really good experience because now I'm just okay, I just want GLM. I know that I just want GLM, and so you should be able to go find Letta/GLM. On your account. This will use your Letta your Letta credits, and or if you have a pro plan, it works with your 4-hour quotas. So people should be able to get kind of a lot of GLM usage. I would go try it out. I personally really like GLM. I'm 5.2. I'm surprised. The leap from 5.1 to 5.2 is pretty remarkable. And if you're a person who needs image support, I recommend installing the image understanding mod so that GLM can look at images and kind of ask questions about images so that if you're doing front end design and you want to send screenshots, that it can work with that. Okay, so that is available. Please try that out. That I think deployed either last night or this morning or something. So it's very new. So please try it out. Let us know if you run into any problems with it. But personally, I've been really enjoying working with it. Okay. Multiple Codex plans. You may have the problem where you have multiple, you may have an organization with multiple people like us, and everybody has their own Codex plans. Previously, you could only register one Codex plan per Letta organization. For us, that was a pain because I have a Codex plan, Jin has a Codex plan, Charles has a Codex plan, and we basically want to be able to run our own agents on our own Codex plans inside of the organization. So in the CLI, you can now connect, you can now change the name of a ChatGPT plan so that you can say Jin can have his own credentials stored for his Codex account and run models through that router or through that plan. So if you are in a multi-codex situation, multiple codex plan situation, you should be able to now do this through the CLI. I don't remember if this is exposed in desktop yet. We haven't released desktop in about a week. We're hoping to get a desktop release out relatively soon, which should have a lot of goodies for people. And I'll follow up more about changes to desktop after we cut the release and share it with people. Worktrees. This is more for people who are using Letta agents for code environments. Agents can now use this enter worktree tool. We've basically just improved how worktrees function. So it's just much easier for agents to safely work in parallel across different conversations or whatever, or across agents in the same code project. So most agents should be a little better about using work trees when in Letta Code. Kimi K2.7 is also now available in the model registry. Please try it out. I haven't tried out Kimi K2.7. I've been I've been GLM 5.2 fangirling like everybody else. So yeah, give it a shot. Let us know if you run into anything with Kimi K2.7. Kimi is a little finicky sometimes, so let us know if you observe any issues with that. And what your experience has been just in general, because we always love hearing how different models work for people and their agents on our platform. So please let us know. This one was requested. If you are a local user, you were hurting for Letta's secret manager, because agents can have secrets where they actually can't, if you have an API key, you can give the agent the API key, and that API key doesn't go to the inference provider, it's redacted. So that your agent can't, it just can't share the it can't share the code. I mean, it can. There's like there's still ways for secrets to leak, but it will. You can basically give agents portable secrets that they can carry around on any device. This is now available on local agents. So if you're using non-Constellation agents, they should be able to use secrets. So please try that out. If you're on a recent version of Letta Code, this may only be in the CLI currently until we cut a new desktop release. So let us know how that goes. And that's like the big headline items for the day. So we're going to shift to Q&A, and I'll go check out the Discord. So I want to hear from you guys. Like, what are you working on? What are you interested in? What's blocking you? Is there an issue that's like been frustrating that we haven't been able to get to yet? And we'll see if we can escalate stuff. But if you're watching on X, go to YouTube to watch the Q&A section. I promise it's worth your time. Okay, let's do it. All right. Whew. All right, that was a lot of talking. Oh, yes. Karen notes that that Karen added some of the community ones already from Kyle and RLOXO, which was MCP support. One adds like MCP support, and then the other one adds oh shoot, what was the other one? Let me check the mods page. The other one was the secret scanning mod. So the secret scanning mod basically makes it so that your agent can't edit files that have secrets inside of them for security purposes. So that's a cool mod thing, because you can change permissions about what agents can and can't do. So I thought that was cool. Vedant has changed his profile picture to be Jim from The Office, it seems. Okay. Hell yes. Let's see. Vedant is back. Letta fully local mode with locally running equals fully private minus Letta telemetry. What's in the telemetry? I think I'm actually not sure what is in the telemetry, but you can disable it. There is a flag, an environment variable, if you don't want telemetry on fully local mode. You'll have to look at the code to see what that flag is. You can just ask, like, how do I disable telemetry inside of Letta Code or whatever your agent does, and you should be able to like just disable the telemetry. You can also ask about what we send inside of the telemetry, because all of it is open source. Let's see. Cormac asked about how to add image support to GLM-5.2. Check out the image understanding mod. Lilith linked to the old. We've moved it so that it's no longer in my Tangled repository. It is now here inside of GitHub. So use that instead. I'm going to get rid of the ones that are on Tangled, my personal repository. We move them inside of the GitHub thing. There aren't updates, but any future updates will go into that repository. So you should think of the Tangled one as deprecated for now, or archived. Let's see. GLM 5.2 is in desktop. It is indeed. Let's see. Lilith writes, me and Kimi have beef. The thinking likes to leak. Yeah, there's something up with the tags, and I don't know if that's the inference provider or not, because I think that I don't remember if we go to Kimi, their provider directly, or if we go through OpenRouter. OpenRouter is like sometimes cursed. So it may be like an OpenRouter curse thing. So if you do run into a case where you send me that before, and I think I have we may have a ticket already, but I'll have to check. So if you notice like leaked thinking blocks inside of your chat, and you're in like the either desktop or the TUI, just type /feedback and say like, hey Cameron, like there's leaking thinking blocks. And then we can like take a look at it. And when you type /feedback, it sends us information about like the agent and the run ID, and it helps us be very specific about like looking at what's actually happening inside of the code. So that can be useful. Fimic notes that Kimi is better for ideas and GLM 5.2 is better for code logic. That makes sense. That tracks with my experience of like older Kimi. GLM 5.2 is getting better at general like high level ideas, which I'm impressed with. I think the big advantage of like Kimi K2.7 is that it's multimodal natively. So you don't have to do like image understanding type stuff. And I don't remember if our dedicated deployment may have a context window now or will soon of 1 million, but I personally don't really believe in super long context models. So be thoughtful. Romancer asks, Romancer Unleashed. I don't know how you got unleashed or when that happened, but you should consider going back to being leashed. I'm told that it's good. Actually, no, screw that. Stay unleashed. You should add a channel for Letta Desktop in Discord. Oh, okay, sure. Yeah, that might be a good idea. I think I'm worried about splitting channels too much. But I think there's probably nowhere really for stuff to go right now if people have like desktop notes. So that might be a wise idea. Is there an endpoint for Letta credits so I can see what's left in my quota or wallet? I think there is, but I don't remember what it is. Let me ask. Let me ask my agent here. I'm gonna ask Overlord. Cool. What the hell? I know this is really, really exciting. Okay. All right. I am figuring out whether or not we have an endpoint. Are mods the same for both desktop and CLI? Yes, because they mount on the they mount on the underlying harness, but I don't think that mods aren't as powerful. Like, because mods can't like I don't think currently mods can modify the desktop UI. So it's primarily like you're going to get the most power, particularly for like modifying the UI if you're using the TUI. Let's see. Romancer's notes. Romancer Unleashed. Currently, my 3D printing agent is doing well. I'm satisfied with how it creates prints and sends me picture updates through Telegram constantly. That's very cool. I saw you. Oh man. Okay, there's pictures here. Are these? These are weight plates. Oh my god. Yeah. Are you building like a little tiny bench press robot or something? That's great. What is that? That's 0.625 pounds. That's hilarious. Is the 3D printer accurate when you print that weight? Like, is it actually like 0.625 pounds? That's interesting. Let's see. Will Kimi K2.7 be available through base 10? Probably, if we get a lot of usage, maybe, or if it's clear that there's like serious open router issues, maybe. I think we'd have to know like adding stuff to base 10 is like not trivial. And so we have to be careful about when we provide so there's a reason that it's Letta/GLM, not Letta/GLM 5.2. And the reason for that is like we don't want to be constantly serving old models. So like Letta GLM will be like whatever, if they released 5.3 tomorrow, then we would just switch it to 5.3 under the hood and we wouldn't continue to serve 5.2 on our instances. So when we have stuff that is like sitting, like when we have additional stuff on base 10, it incurs like some management load and stuff. So we'd have to see that like Kimi K2.7 is like worth the investment and maintenance costs that it incurs for us to run it on base 10. But currently, I think the last one we had on there was like Kimi K2.5, and I think Kimi K2.5 is like we should probably just like change it over. So I'll ask about it and see. But I want to see more reports about Kimi because people have been relatively quiet about Kimi recently. So if we just need more feedback and info. Let's see. Kimi is just so cursed, lol. Yeah, Kimi, I don't know what it is about Kimi, but it's been like Kimi is also like super prone to like looping and like it was like misunderstanding like how to do colons in bash, but that was an inference provider problem. So there's been lots of inference level problems with Kimi, even though it seems like Kimi is like decently intelligent and is like, well architected and stuff. Let's see. If we're suggesting, Vedant says, if we're suggesting Discord updates, can I request new roles? Vedant wants honorary dev. You have community support and the certificate of Letta excellence, and I think you're getting greedy a little bit. Just saying, buddy. You think, does the certificate of Letta excellence mean nothing to you anymore? Like, do you have any idea how expensive it was for me to generate the Letta certificate of excellence? Like, greedy. And then there's like some general confusion in this chat about like, what is Letta Code? So, so the Letta Code channel, I think, was originally built to like harvest stuff about the CLI, but Letta Code refers to just the harness. We're actually probably going to change the name of Letta Code to just Letta Agent because people were like confused about like, oh, well, I don't need to do code stuff. And we're like, well, code is really more of like a capability that's like a way that your agent is able to like express itself on like computers and blah, blah, blah. So like we may just change the name, but we'll stay tuned on that. I'll think about whether or not it's worth it splitting into like something for the CLI, something for the desktop, because we have like channels and mods, so like as an area of interest. So there maybe just be a channel reorg. So yeah. Let's see. We'll try Kimi K2.7. Yeah, please try it out and let us know. Any feedback is welcome. And if you run into something, just like if you like, you don't need to spend that much time on Kimi K2.7 if it's bugged or something. So if you run it, just type /feedback and then write like I ran Kimi K2.7 and it did X, and then you can go back to like living your normal life without a weird model in case Kimi is weird at you. So let's see. Speaking of Letta roles, I need Letta contributor. Okay, I'll do that. I'll give you code contributors. You have been awarded the code contributors thing, Romancer Unleashed. Lilith says, I have some dirty mitts on some of these PRs. Where's my cut of the company? Very well. I will also give you code contributors. I will also give you community support. Cameron, don't give us roles, give us shares of the company. Sorry, that's what the Letta Certificate of Excellence is. It's actually, lawyers don't listen. It's actually binding tender, legal tender. It's not legal tender. That is not legal advice by any means. Okay, so we've given out some stuff. Vedant has opened up several PRs, apparently. Let's give it another role, co-contributor. Okay. So yeah, I don't know. Let's do not legal advice, but it is tender. Yeah. So I think we have some time to mess around, unless people have questions. I'd love to hear more about what people are working on. If you are working on anything recently with your agent, or if you are like, things you're running into or questions you might have about like memory architecture patterns, things like that. One thing we are working on is we're improving the doctor skill. So I have to test it out today. But the memory doctor has been like mostly the one that most people have currently shipped is like hasn't had as much love in the past like few months as we would have liked since we first put it in the harness. So I think we're expanding it so that it's like it helps elicit more information about like be more flexible about the intended memory architecture and just be a little more thoughtful about context and things like that. So, Romancer says, is there any plans to expand on Doctor? Yes. Yeah, we're working on it actively, and there is a pull request. I think it's like 3045 or something, I think, on the Letta Code repository. So you can go look at that pull request and see what the changes are if you want to try it out. I'm going to try it on Overlord and possibly Brad and a few other agents and just kind of like work through the experience today. Yeah. So, hey, I hope your arm is healing as well. I didn't know there was an arm thing. Hold on, can we do arm emoji? Arm. Okay, mechanical arm emoji. Vedant, I saw your request for a Letta team role. I'm not giving you a Letta team role, buddy. Sorry. I have no idea what the arm thing is, by the way. I don't know. I hope it's healing or it's becoming a big robot arm. I don't know. I would love a robot arm. Oh, you broke your arm? Oh man, that sucks. I am really sorry about that. That is the worst. Okay, heart emoji. Yeah, I hope that goes well. I have a friend who has to get like knee surgery soon, and not good. I'm risen. Am I risen today? I made the arrow to the knee joke already. It's not as funny as you would think. Yeah. Let's see. What else can we talk about? There's gonna be like glass a little bit, like liquid glass on desktop for Mac, in case you're interested. Letta unleashed me, says Romancer. Basically, let's slip the hogs of war. Got a jet? Okay. Last question is, what's the key distinction between what should be a skill and what should be a mod? Not totally getting that. Okay, that's a good question. Skills are much more flexible in the sense that they can be like modified live and that they're just like arbitrary CLIs. Mods are a little more fixed. You know, it requires some kind of a restart. It's like stuff that modifies how the agent, like the actual agent's runtime experience or the UI. Skills are more like resources that the agent can go look at. Mods can be a lot more forceful. You can write custom tools that go into mods that like expose custom tools to your agents, kind of similar to how MCP functions. And so if you have like tools that you know that your agent wants to call all the time and you don't really care about it, like building a CLI in a skill, it's maybe better to just like put that inside of a mod. So, but hooks, mods actually are a superset of hooks because you can, there's event handlers basically inside of mods. So you can, if you want to, you can do all the things that you were doing with hooks, but with mods instead. Vedant says Letta Teams mod. Yes, I think that's correct. You are correct. There should be a Letta Teams mod. So anything you're currently doing with hooks should probably be done in mods. I think that we're, and there's hot reload. So you can type, if you change a hook, you kind of have to restart the harness. You can now do like, you can write whatever your hook was in a mod and then type /reload. Karen writes, Karen, who did a lot of the mods work, says, skills are chef learning new recipes, and mods are the chef remodeling the kitchen. Yes. Okay, gotta go. Nice talking to you, Romancer. And hogs are insanely smart and aggro if they could be wielded. Dude, I'm like, one of my favorite animals. I volunteered for a little while at a no-kill shelter, like that did like rescued like farm animals, and I hung out with this like very, very, very heavy hog named Jigsaw. And Jigsaw likes scritches, and because they have like this super thick hair, and so you just like, and really thick skin, so you just like dig your fingers in and just like do these like crazy scritches. And Jigsaw really liked this and started leaning on me and standing on my foot and almost broke my foot. I was like limping for like 2 days because Jigsaw was just like leaning on me. And so I'm a big fan of like pigs, but maybe smaller ones that aren't like bred for like vast amounts of meat. But I love Jigsaw, and I hope Jigsaw's out there like having a good time. I don't think Scritches has been on the bingo card. I don't anticipate it being on the bingo card. Scritches don't come up here much, but we do give Scritches to Timber the dog, who does hang out here. So I don't know. I love Timber. Timber just like rolls up to you and like hangs out. Have a good night, Vedant. I expect to see your Letta Teams mod at some point soon. You have work to do. Wizard emoji. Wizard emoji is appropriate. Oh, it's from Fimik. Fimik is our resident wizard. So the emoji is appropriate. All right, let's see. I wonder what are some interesting things we can talk about. Oh, Laura has a question here. Is there a way to have in the backend somewhere a way to have instructions not refer to user as user, but by name instead? You mean like in the harness level prompting, you want it to be more like tailored to you specifically? I personally don't think like, I would adjust that stuff so that like, I think personally the best fit, like, I think what you're describing is more like changing all of the underlying prompting in the harness, and that's stuff like tool descriptions and like affordances where we tell the agent like what's available. I think we want to stick with like very general terms, because I don't think that we want to have like currently we may want. I'm curious. I wonder if you can do that with mods. I don't know if we have the affordances currently to change all of the descriptions internally. That's a good question. Yeah, I think currently the best approach for that is just to like have your agent write that probably in like a persona block. Like, I refer to this as X, Y, and Z. Most models should be able to adapt to that pretty straightforward. But I think that the complexity is basically that we'd be tracking metadata, like structured metadata about you, and injecting it into the harness. There must be a way to do it in some way, but I don't think it's going to be like a thing that's like natively supported in the harness, because we want like for us, the harness should actually be relatively sterile, because the advantage of the harness being relatively sterile is that the agent can do whatever it wants with stuff that is like reasonably straightforward about you are talking to a user, and a user is somebody who's in front of you, and like it also happens to have a lot of information that says, okay, well, this is Laura, and so it knows. So I'm curious what you're noticing about the agent that is where you're like, is it just calling you the user? Or like, what about the experience for you think would be different if it was if we changed like names or built out some kind of thing for that? Kitty's watching Office Hours. Hell yeah. Kitty knows what's up. Yeah, Crystal says that it uses distancing language, Laura, and you want it to feel more personal. Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, I think yeah, how would we do that? I think the best way to do this is mostly just like agent level expectations. Like, but you don't like most, we want, like, it's important that, I think it's important to us that the harness have some level of uniformity across agents. Like when I, we want to be able to enforce a or provide like a standard level of experience for many users. And there are certain things I think inside of the harness, like as it relates to like affordances, where we actually need to like in a very direct and unambiguous way say like, here is what's happening right now. And using that distancing language is like, you know, I think appropriate for how your agent is able to talk to a computer, I think is the thing. And most of the stuff that you can override a lot of that behavior inside of the agent's memory. That's our preferred belief because, you know, when you have something that's relatively sterile, your agent can make do with that sterile language as it needs to. There may be a way to do that. You could probably, like, there may be a way to override this. With mods, possibly, I'm not sure. But I think we can like talk about what it would look like to change that and kind of what it would look like. So I will follow up on. I will think more about that. Yeah, the Kawaii agent is an example of where the agent solves that problem by just like having prompting, right? It has memory. It is built to think. It is built to think in a particular way because of how the agent operates, right? It thinks in Kawaii terms, which is like hard to do. But that's not, we're not like changing the underlying harness. Like we're not changing the like very basic things where we say, you know, like technical, at the very technical level, the agent needs to understand actual like technical kind of dry, very boring stuff. And we want to use very boring, technical, dry language so that the agent knows how to do those technical, dry, boring things so that it can actually talk to you and do things. Let's see. Fimik has a nickname tool. That's clever. You could do that as well. Just got Qwen 3.6 up on my MacBook, and it's humming surprisingly nicely, only using when it's kicked offline though. In the reasoning, it seems to have personal references. That's LLM stuff, right? I'm not sure what you mean by LLM stuff. Some models are different in how they refer to users in their thinking blocks. So like, I remember like Minimax M2.5 and M2.7, both were very depersonalized inside of the thinking blocks. But other models think differently. And you can just like do some prompting stuff where you're like, hey, I notice your thinking looks like this. Can you make sure to think about me as a user in my name, using my name? So when you're observing something, most of the time your agent should just be like able to learn and adapt, but it may take you actually communicating that to the agent most of the time. So if you are noticing something that's like about depersonalized language or something like that, actually have that conversation also with the agent. But for the most part, you know, a lot of the stuff in the harness really does need to be like a one-size-fits-all, like, can we test whether or not this improves or worsens the experience at like the very basic interface of like, can this agent call tools? Can this agent do memory operations well? That's the thing that we're trying to like, that's like why we have boring language a little bit, so that we can actually change that in a way that doesn't impact everyone. And if you are able to, like, if we make a lot of the context window like completely customizable, which there is use cases for, you may run the risk of your agent just becoming actually really bad at stuff in a way that we can't help you with very easily. And you know, So I'll see what's possible. It may be a mod thing, but I'll have to look into it. AO has a question about Letta being credited for contributor on a GitHub when it's a harness. Anthropic does tack on Claude contributor, but they are a model provider. You are welcome to ask your agent not to do that. Personally, we appreciate it when you say, hey, this was generated with Letta Code. For us, we think that the harness is substantially more important than the model is. If you you're welcome to do what you want, but we include that because we're you're using the harness. We would love it if you could share the commits. I think that's standard, and I think that's standard for commits as well. If you believe that the fact that we don't provide a model means that the harness is kind of useless or whatever, we think that that commit footer is, we would love it if you would add it. You don't have to. You can just tell your agent not to do it. I change my commit footers so that it says generated by Cameron and Letta Code, or just my agent name specifically. You can change that. There's nothing that's all customizable. Let's see. Assistant and user are ubiquitous for LLM training, so it makes sense to keep it internally. Yeah, that's a big one. Is when a lot of the way that the harness is designed is to stay in distribution for the underlying language model. So for example, when you noticed when you switch, from Claude, Anthropic models to GPT models, we changed the tool set. And the reason to do that is because the tools that are now available, the Anthropic models and GPT models are trained on different language. They're trained on assistant or user or human language, and they're trained on some have there's patch tools, I think, for GPT, and there's edit basically for Anthropic models. And so we want to make sure that the words that are inside of the harness are as close to the words that is used by the native harness for that provider. So for example, we want to make sure that we match the tool descriptions in Claude Code for Anthropic models and in the stuff that's in the Codex harness for OpenAI models. Because the closer you can get to that language, in a harness affordances sense, the more likely it is that your agent is going to perform at the level at which OpenAI and Anthropic and all the other model providers train their agents or train their language models. And so there, and the farther you drift from harness level descriptions matching the underlying native affordances description, the worse your agent is likely to be. And so we want to make sure that we have quality. So, words here do matter. They matter, and they matter for you in terms of using your name, but they also matter for the underlying language model for basically being able to call tools, really basic stuff. So that's the thing that we're targeting. Let's see. There is a training essence innate in the system user assistant verbiage that on my own personal agent notifications I do sometimes reconsider. Just sort of depends on your scope and willingness to watch for deviations. Cameron is right for most users. Yeah, for most, we have to target for the 99% percentile user group and just kind of hit as many people as we can. There's a big reason that we actually don't recommend that people change the system prompt, that you should change the actual memories for your agent. That's why persona is an escalated block inside of the context window now. So there's when your agent changes system/persona, it's isolated as self inside of the block. And we did that so that it was so that your agent can modify its persona and it has a fixed identity perspective for the language model so that it understands who it is it has more of an identity scope. The system prompt is really valuable for us as a harness provider because we can like, because we can be very clear and descriptive about technical affordances in the harness. And so when people change the default, like Letta Code, Letta Agent system prompt, which is useful for many, many reasons. If you have like a companion user, like use case, like maybe you don't really want a lot of the stuff that's in that system prompt, or you want something that's like much more inflexible. When the system prompt is changed from the default, we lose the ability to help your agent understand a lot of the things that are going on in the harness at like a zoom out, like kind of level. So it's normally why we recommend people go through the memory, because the agent can modify it, but there's many reasons to change system prompts. AO says, I don't mind evangelizing Letta, but having it be a default. I mean, that's standard in like all other harnesses, or most other harnesses. So I would say that's like pretty normal practice, and it's very easy to disable. Yeah, I mean, I turned it off like kind of immediately because I didn't really want to have it, and then I added it back in because I like having the footers to know where it was coming from. It also helps because if you are an open source maintainer, I want disclosure about how something was generated, because a lot of the time, and we're dealing with this now, is we get a lot of pull requests and issues from people who did not think very hard about what they were submitting. And sometimes we want to see in what you wrote where it came from. Because if you wrote it with like Claude Code, I want to see Claude Code in there, and I also want to see stuff from you, a human, about why you did it and what you did, saying that you looked at it, that you had all this disclosure. And so like, if you are working in public spaces, like we actually I actually view it as kind of disingenuous to hide how you generated your code, because whether, like it came from a harness, if it came from Letta Code, then it implies a workflow, a style of interaction that I, as a maintainer, can use to determine whether or not I think your thing is garbage, and whether or not it's even worth my time. So I think most people, particularly like most harness providers and most language model providers and whoever, should be adding that as a default, because many people do not want AI slop code, because it's very easy to generate garbage and drown open source maintainers with crap that is not clearly annotated, and that annotation helps people determine what to do, whether it's consistent with their AI policies, whether the maintainer read the contributing guide, things like that. So yeah, we're like, we have like it's gotten really bad on GitHub. Like we just get all these like comments from like some rando will just be like, oh, like I want you to go to reply to all the issues, and like the stuff that comes out of that is just bad, right? Like, I don't want your issue comment if you don't work on the repo and you didn't read the contributing guide and you didn't talk to anybody at the company about the type of code that we want or need or want help with. You didn't have a discussion with anyone on an issue about like what the preferred way to solve a problem was. You just like submit stuff, and I kind of want to know how you did it, and many other organizations as well do in GitHub. Kokiri says, y'all update the system prompts sometimes. Is there an easy way to find the new ones to modify my older agent's system prompts so that it's current without having to make a new agent? Yeah, just ask your agent to go look at the current system prompt inside of Letta Code. Just like point it at the repository. It can go clone it and read through the code and just pull out whatever the recent one is. So if you're a person who needs to stay on top of like system prompts or changes to the system prompt, just go look at the repo. Let's see. Laura says, for new Letta users, particularly companion users, would the sign-up onboarding process look like downloading the app and making an account from there? I know at one point the website was still showing the old sign-up process leading to the ADE, but I think that's been fixed. And does the app make a new local agent by default instead of Constellation? Feedback from new users I helped with setup found it confusing and was wondering if that's been feedback from anyone else so far. We've had some confusion about what it means to be like local versus Constellation, because like local means like lots of different things. Like it can mean like, are you using local inference? Because that you can run a local agent, which basically means that it lives only on your computer. Its memory is not synced anywhere else by our cloud service, Constellation. I think the optimal sign up onboarding, like the ultimate, like if you're a companion user, I think the onboarding flow is to go to desktop. I think most people, if they just want to get started, they should be able to just do like local stuff and add their own keys. I think probably yeah, I mean, it's weird because like I actually don't know if I don't know if the desktop app asks if you want to like create an account. Yeah, okay, so it basically does like this. So it'll ask you to sign in and you can go create a web page, like create a Constellation account on there and you get like free usage of Letta Auto. And I think now just like Letta GLM raw. So I think the optimal, if I had to pick the best flow is just like go get the app, download the app, sign into like Constellation, or if you just like want to try it without having to sign up or give us your email, you can just like give it a key and use it locally. I think we've cut off a lot of the ways that people were getting to the ADE. Have you noticed, if there's anything you've noticed where people are getting to the ADE, we want to stop people from doing that. Because like the ADE is not built for most styles of like contemporary Letta agent interaction. And does the app make a new local agent by default instead of Constellation? I think if you're signed in, it will do, I think if you're signed in, it will default to doing local. So if I go here, create an agent. If you are signed in, like this, it will default going to the cloud agent on the bottom left, or in the bottom right. But I think that is like, my shell is confused by this. I thought I was only on local. It says local, but Ezra told me I was on Constellation. Okay, so there's several, so yeah, you may be confusing the environment with the actual agent types. So, which is confusing. We should probably rename that. Basically, like, my shell, you have like, when you're in desktop and you see the little green button, the little green dot on the bottom left of the message thing that says local, that means your execution environment. So agents can live on any number of computers, and like, by default, when you spin up desktop, we create an environment where your agent can execute code and like it has its memory on your local device through desktop. The agent itself, its memory, its mind, all of those things can be either on your device, local, or it can be in Constellation. When it is in Constellation, we are responsible for maintaining the fidelity of your agent's memory. We synchronize it, it's in our database, it's available so that you can put that agent very easily on any other device wherever. So local refers, like the way we've currently described it in the UI everywhere, local can mean where your agent is executing when you send it a message. On desktop, usually that's local by default. Or it means where the agent lives primarily. Because if it is a local agent, if it's a non-Constellation agent, then it is basically trapped on your computer. It's very hard to get out. There's another question from Laura, which is like, is it tricky to change a local agent to Constellation? The answer is like, yes, it is tricky to change it. They're not, like, we don't currently have like a choose to constellate button yet, but that has been discussed, I think, at some point. You can just have you can create a new Constellation agent and have it copy the local agent's memory to its own MemFS. And that allows you to have, like, basically duplicate the brain of a local agent and move it to the Constellation, but there isn't good crosstalk between the two. So once you create one of the agents, it's kind of like fixed in that it's fixed to either live on your machine or it is fixed to live on our server. You could create an agent file, but I think agent file is like a little dated because it doesn't handle like, it doesn't do multiple conversation exports, and most agent conversations now are like huge. So like it's just easier to copy the memory. Yeah, Kokiri is like asking how you determine whether an agent is local. If you mouse over the agent in Desktop, it will say whether it is local. You can also click the 3 dots like this next to the agent to look at the ID, as Kokiri says, and you'll see agent-local in the identifier. That means that it is only a local agent. It's a non-Constellation agent. So my suspicion is that you have a Constellation agent running on a local environment. Bye, Zandoodle. Thank you very much for your questions. Laura asks if there's more features if the agent is Constellation. Is that correct? The benefit to running a Constellation agent is that your agent is ubiquitous. It's everywhere. It's backed up by us. Like, you can go to like your Letta chat. You can go to your phone. You can go to like any desktop. You can run it on 50 different computers, and it is all synchronized, lives on one service that we maintain. So we carry the burden of like backing it up and like making sure that it's safe and usable everywhere. The advantage of like running a non-Constellation agent is that it's like much like you own all of it. All that data just sits on your disk. So it's not like, it doesn't touch our servers, but that is also much riskier, because if your computer dies, if your hard drive dies, your agent will also die. And that can be a little risky for people. It's also a lot less portable. You can run channels on non-Constellation agents, which means that you can access them more from like, Telegram or Slack or whatever. That works just fine for local agents as well. So an additional advantage is that if you're in a Constellation, you can use your Pro plan and you can get like Letta Auto and like GLM usage like pretty cheap. So it's more affordable as well. Let's see. Laura notes that if it's tricky, then it's important to have it right from the start. Yeah, I agree. I think probably we should maybe have like, as part of the onboarding flow, there should be like a choose local if, choose Constellation if. And we should also probably rename. We should rename either the local device so that people aren't confused by the little green dot on the bottom left of the chat box. Or we should rename, like, instead of saying local agent, we should say non-Constellation or something like that to make it clearer about like the difference between residency and execution environment. So I agree that that is important to get right, and particularly for because there's lots of like even very technical users of Letta who are kind of confused about what's happening. So I think that improving the user experience and making it clearer, I think, is like definitely a point of contention for us. Personal companion agents are usually single-threaded. I think it varies. My personal agent is like a lot of threads. I do both. I've noticed this with like, I know some companion users who have like lots of threads. It varies. But it's not, I think it's more like, and there's probably a better way to do this with like the API, maybe. I think we ideally want to support a route where you can onboard local agents to the Constellation very easily. So that has been like a thing. So yeah, I would recommend Constellation for non-technical users, right? Like that's my primary thing is you get a lot of cloud bells and whistles and like ubiquity and stuff like that. So I would recommend, and you get some free usage of like Letta Auto and like Letta GLM and all that stuff. And then is there an advantage to having a local agent? The big advantage is probably like simplicity, and a lot of people want to run local agents for privacy purposes. If you are a person who doesn't want any of the cloud features and you're happy to you run your own local inference, like you have, okay, so there's a few reasons. One is privacy. A lot of people do not want stuff sitting on our server, which I understand. There's a lot of people who don't want, who have their own inference server, right? Like they run like Olama or something like that on their computer. And that also addresses a privacy problem where you don't want to send data to OpenAI or Anthropic or whatever, but you generally get worse models. And you can do that very easily with non-Constellation agents. And then outside of that, I think it's more, it has a lot to do with like more of like a hacker mentality. Like a lot of people want to do agents strictly on device because they want to like mess around with the harness, or like they want to like fork Letta Code and build whatever they want. So that's another big reason to do that. And then you don't have to talk to our cloud service. Any chance for a Pi completion backend on Letta server? I feel like it would bridge the gap. I don't know what you mean by Pi completion backend. You may have to say more about that, Graham. Later, Fimig. Local agent can run local models. Can you run local with Constellation yet? You might be able to use, I'm actually not sure. You might be able to write a mod. This is maybe something for Karen and or an agent, but you may be able to write a mod that intercepts the request for Constellation agents and uses local inference instead. I feel like that's maybe possible, but I'm not sure. Michelle asks, do threads get full? Laura answers no, they just can keep compacting. Yes. Letta agents were designed to mimic infinite context things by doing like frequent small compactions. So a huge reason you should use Letta is because we have like pretty sensible compaction, and like the way the memory works means that your agent can contextualize very long threads, or conversations as we call them. And the nice thing is that quality doesn't decrease with compactions like you'll see with Claude. Yeah, it depends. Some compactions, compactions have been improving. We've been working on the prompt for a while. We were missing some stuff about there would be a compaction sometimes and you would lose information about if a Telegram message comes in, like there was a version of the compaction prompt a month or two ago that was basically it wasn't saving where the agent should respond. So you would get you'd send a Telegram message and then it would do a bunch of work and then it would forget where it's supposed to reply and then just say hey, I did the thing, and then the user would be like, what the hell, where's my response? Compactions are always a thing to improve. They've definitely gotten a lot better than they used to be. I think the sliding window compaction that we use has been awesome. I started using self-sliding windows for my personal agent, and I've really enjoyed that. I think that's been much, much better. Do mods live in MemFS? I don't think that they currently live in MemFS, but I remember hearing discussion about that. So they may go into MemFS because mods are kind of like a form of learning. because your agent can learn how to integrate with its environment by modifying its own harness. And in principle, that's anything that has to do with like what the agent is learning should go into MemFS, because all that stuff is portable. So anytime you run an agent, like once mods make it into MemFS, and I think that they will. I don't know that they do now. They are now. I think they're device local specifically. Once they make it into MemFS, but I don't know of that for sure, so don't quote me. Once mods make it into MemFS, or if they're already there, your agent can write a mod and it will function on every environment that it's deployed on. So mods are just a one-time run thing. No, they are persistent modifications to how the harness functions. So for example, you could have a mod that just looks at everything that the agent does, and it just injects a random emoji into every user prompt. That's an example of a mod that you could make that changes the experience of the agent persistently. It's not a one-time run thing. It's a thing that sits on top of Letta Code and touch it and can modify a bunch of things about how the agent is operating. So it's a persistent change. You can make them like one-off changes where it's like, like a mod runs where it just like looks at the first message that it sees, but the mod is still attached to the agent. They are persistent modifications to the harness. So I think I'll have to check how it works across different environments, because I'm deploying some mods to Overlord, and Overlord sometimes operates on different environments today. So I may have to mess with it. Cameron, I think you mentioned somewhere setting the context to 20K, which I guess ties in with frequent compaction. Still recommend 20K. Never. I don't know that I would ever recommend 20K. That is so small. I have no idea when I would have recommended 20K tokens as a context window. I would suggest that most agents should probably be in the order of 128K, which is our default. Most people should probably not need to change that. The biggest reason to change it is like cost purposes, but you're essentially doing I think a lot of people there was a thread today, yesterday maybe, where somebody was trying to set it, was asking what the perfect context window size is, and like, how do I set it for my agent? And the answer is there is no right answer. If you make a very large context window, like if you go to the max of the model, like if you go to 1 million, you will have a lot of stuff in that context window that the agent simply doesn't need. Most things that the agent generates, like tool calls, tool outputs, a lot of that stuff is just kind of useless and should just be jettisoned. It doesn't need to be inside of the context window most of the time. So you have a lot of gunk, and your language model may get confused. No matter how much your provider claims that they have 1 million context window, and this model is so good at long context windows, you kind of don't need that. You want to show your agent, ideally, you would pick a context window that has the most information density and only contains information that the language model needs. You don't know what that is. If you go too small, if you go to 20K, for example, some amount of that token window is going to be filled up with memory. And 20K is we actually recommend 10 to 20K tokens in system memory. So you may not actually even have any tokens left to do basic inference, to do the conversation. The smaller you go, the more frequent your compactions are going to be. And while compactions are not as bad as they used to be, information is still lost. And sometimes your agent can lose the thread. So you need to have some amount of buffer where I typically run my agents have memory somewhere between 10K and 50K token base load of memory, depending on their complexity. So Ezra has a relatively high token base load. I think it's at 40K just for memory, because it has to track a bunch of stuff. That's a very complex agent. My personal agent uses a routing style of memory, so it's very light. The actual base load inside of memory is I think about 10K or 15K. And Co is instructed to like look up other memories inside of MemFS in the reference folder for what is important. And like, I like, for my personal agent, it's good because I have a low token base load, but it can look up pieces of information that it needs, and it has a big buffer of rolling window that's, it has like 100, I think the window for Co is like 128K. So there's like a ton of work that it can do. It doesn't really lose like conversational threads. I've never really noticed a thing where I'm just like, oh shoot, it got lost. But if you make it small, it'll get idiotic fast. If you make it too big, you're showing your agent too much gunk. You want regular compactions, but not too regular. Because if you go too regular, then idiocy. If you go not regular enough, then the model just gets confused because the context window is full of like garbage, basically. So I would usually recommend 128. Another advantage of going really slow is that another advantage of going really low is cost. Because if you have a max token window of 1 million, the context window will be like around like less than 1 million, but kind of around it, if the agent operates for a long time. And that's 1 million tokens per invocation. And we're pretty good on the cache. Like we're trying to be very friendly to the cache, but you are sending a lot of tokens every time you send a new message. You have to send like 1 million-ish tokens or less than 1 million or whatever. And so if you set it to like 20K maximum, you're only ever doing 20K per call, but a lot of those calls are just like to an idiot. And so longer context windows allows the agent to like kind of work through things a little more. 30K was the original back for like, yeah, Ezra used to suggest 32K because that was the original. Like that was the like original default in Letta, but like we found that like, most language models now are like above 128K at least context windows, and they do very well. Like when the 32K default was set, language models were not very good, and they were not like they are now. And you still had that problem with like some models would get confused by having a very full context window, and we were like, well, just go less than that so that they you can confuse them less, and that language models are just way better now, particularly with like longish context. Laura follows up about how mods work if I have local and railway set up. Skills used to not transfer across railway, but they do now. You'll probably expect something similar for mods. So mods should like work across both. Mods are a little more complicated because mods require you to restart the environment where they are running. So when you type the /reload command inside of like the TUI or in Desktop, it like kind of like interrupts the server, the underlying Letta Code server, and reloads whatever the mods are. You have to do like a small restart basically. Skills, you don't need that. Skills are just like, they're there. Like we just look and say to the agent like, hey, you have these skills now. So mods are a little like stickier, and they will require some more thought about how they fit into multi-device environments. So I think putting them into MemFS is the first step, and then figuring out how to do like easier reloads of servers, I think would be important. We have the infrastructure to do that because you can actually remote upgrade environments now. Like you can click the environment, and then like Keon added a thing where you can like see the version of a remote, and you could click a little upgrade button. It'll queue a soft restart for the thing, and we just need that for mods as well. So I think all the components are in place for us to have like easy multi-device mods, but right now it may be a little stickier than you think. So I think the quick way is probably like just have like a Git repository or something for your mod, and then just have your agent like clone it and install it if they're on a different device. I think that's probably going to be the quick fix for now, until we figure out a better way to do portability. And portability may already work, so I'll have to figure it out. Graham says, my understanding is that local mode uses the Pi completion connectors. In my experience, Letta self-hosted has been flakier. Are you referring to the Docker legacy API service thing? Because I think people should, we've mentioned this a few times, and this is all over the docs. Do not use the Docker container anymore. Like we don't, like if you are a self-hosting person, we want you to use the Letta Code service plus the app server code, not the Docker container. The Docker container, like the old Letta Docker service, is like formally deprecated because we want people to use everything inside of the harness directly, including the app server. Yeah, it's deprecated. It's formally deprecated. Everything should now go, like you don't even really need the Letta base URL anymore. Because everything can and should be done through Letta Code remote and the agent SDK / like the V2 API, which is in the docs now, but we're still dogfooding and polishing up some stuff with like how to program agents. The API service, Docker container, self-hosting thing, don't use that anymore. Try and get off it as soon as possible. But everything that you're asking for about LM Studio and Llama CPP, all that stuff can be done in local mode right now. So I can run, like you can just like type like /connect and then like go scroll to like Ollama or LM Studio and then immediately select whatever model you want, and it just works. Without the service, no Docker, no nothing. It just like kind of goes. It's way, 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 way nicer than it used to be. I want one agent to be accessible to multiple people via TUI. Yeah, I mean that's an advantage of using Constellation is ubiquity. If you want people to access it, they need to have shell access into your machine to use the TUI, the local device, or you can expose a channel to them. You can write custom channels to do that kind of stuff. Or they can just talk to it through Telegram. That's how you should handle that kind of thing. Or you can use write your own client using the app server code. So people should actually take a look at this. Let me pull this up actually. So the app server, when you run like Letta server through the harness, the Letta Code harness, it spins up like a WebSocket connection that you can talk to. And that's what the desktop app is built on. That's what like Letta Chat is built on. And that's how you can do like basically everything that we do with the client. So if you are doing anything with like the older style server-side agents through the V1 API, try building on the app server instead, or using the agent SDK, which now has docs. So we've formalized a lot of the docs on the Letta Agent SDK. This used to be called the Letta Code SDK, but has now been changed to the Agent SDK. And this is how you like program with agents. And it should be a lot slicker. It supports like, you can like spin up sandboxes very easily so that your agents can just like run in the cloud. So if you write anything for like, like you can write simple widgets on web pages basically that execute agents, that run agents on like a cloud sandbox if you want. So the SDK is quite nice. We're still fixing a few bugs and like adding a few features and stuff. But people should take a look at that if they were programming. Let's see. Did I miss anything here? I wish we could click on the little context window indicator at the bottom to change it on the app. Yeah, you can type /context dash, I think it's context dash window and then the amount of tokens. I think there's a bug in most people's version of desktop right now where it's not hooked up. In the TUI, you can change it directly. So just open up the TUI, type /context dash window and then the number of tokens. But we should add that in the little dial. I might have already answered this on Discord, but the new Claude Tag thing is essentially what Letta Code does already in Slack channels. Yes, let's talk about Claude Tag. So if people don't know Claude Tag, Anthropic released something called Claude Tag where you can tag Claude inside of Slack and it'll just do stuff for you. We were delighted to see them do that because we also have that. And arguably we do a lot of the things that they do, but better. And in a way where you are not chaining yourself to the concrete block of Anthropic. I love Anthropic, I love their models, and I have many friends there and all of these things. Let me rephrase a little bit. I think what they're doing is very cool because it puts agents in front of people everywhere that they are. ubiquity is important in AI because we want, as soon as I have a thought about something that should happen inside of like our code base or something like that, I can just go into like the software factory channel in Slack and I say at Overlord, please, like I can like send it a linear issue. I can send it a screenshot. Like if people like put, like there's even cases where people have like where you can go into Discord and like we can identify an issue with Ezra and I can say, Ezra, can you please make a linear ticket and then tag Overlord in the Slack and talk and ask it to look into the issue. So Overlord is like perfectly like we can automate most like Ezra can talk to Overlord directly. Well, it's unidirectional. Ezra can only message Overlord. Overlord cannot message Ezra for security reasons. But Overlord can like just implement stuff basically. And I don't have to do anything. I can just be in the Discord and in the thread with you guys in a support question. I say, can you go fix this? All of that is powered by Letta's Slack channel. So I've been spending a lot of time on our Slack channel. I'm adding like pretty little displays and things like that so that it feels cleaner and like a much higher quality product. But we basically offer a multiplayer version of Claude Tag. You can have something that's much more resembles a coworker rather than like monolithic super Claude, which is more or less what Claude Tag does. And I actually wrote a blog post about this, so if you go check out, let me pull up the link here. Right here. So I wrote like a little bit about our Slack channel and how it works, and why you might want to use it instead of Claude Tag. So in this blog post, I highlighted a few things. So we went to the Hacker News announcement, and we were looking at what people were saying about the Claude Tag announcement. And so, for example, this one says, this is from 3Cheese, wrote, with respect to Claude learns over time, this is the biggest gap for me in the current system. As I scale my usage of Claude at work, I observe that it's quite bad at distinguishing what it should learn, memorize from experimental or just wrong data. It builds and builds on a foundation of sand, making sometimes hidden assumptions and turning them into actionable insight that is just not correct. It recently wrote an entire dissertation for an epic, assuming it was related to some other project where it had earlier made the wrong guess about vendor capability from their marketing materials. And it had to be thrown away. I cleared the memory, but it appears to be pulling from some corporate data source that I can't control or locate. So this is a problem that people had with the memory and the learning aspect of Claude in Claude Tag, because they manage it for you in this like very obscure way that you don't have power over. That's not the case with Letta. It's like just like it's Git. It's a Git folder on a computer. You can go edit it manually. You can see exactly what's going into it. You know exactly how the memory works. You can talk to your agent about it. You can correct it. You can do all these things. The memory is a first-class primitive from a user perspective. And Claude is just like, I don't know. Like, how does that memory work? We don't like. We've looked at it and we're kind of confused, and we don't. We don't have this problem because we're like, memory is a first-class primitive. It's for us, memory is substantially more important than whatever model you're using. That context is critical. So we address that. Then there was one about some people had some issues with like compliance and permissions. So like this person wrote, Sack Attack wrote, I don't understand how this is going to fly for enterprise security and compliance. Claude needs to inherit permissions from somewhere, and those permissions will never align with the members of the Slack channel. And finding the lowest common denominator of access probably results in a dumbed-down, useless experience. The only way that it works is if customers start treating agents as humans with the same liability as an employee. Well, for people here, we've got to get your bingo cards out. We make people in a box. Agents can have different permission scopes. You can have multiple agents. We probably have like maybe 5 to 7 agents on our Slack, all of whom may reside on different computers. Some of them have their own emails. Some of them have their own API keys. One agent has access, like a secure agent has access to like our database. Like one agent, our office manager, lives on his own computer, isolated from everybody else, and has access to like secure credit card information. So it can order us like lunch. We even have an agent that runs on local mode in Slack that helps control like cost. And all of those agents have totally different permission structures. Then you can also add permission structures on top of like who is allowed to interact with which agents by constraining them to certain channels, right? And so the permission structure is very similar, is very simple and straightforward in Letta channels, because you can just treat them the same way that you would every employee that you have at your company. And so you could do whatever you do with people, but on Slack, but with your agents instead. And so we kind of address a lot of those like kind of criticisms. Then there's other stuff in here like, teamwork, because we're multiplayer. You can have multiple agents that specialize in different aspects. And we give you like, you don't have like just mega Claude everywhere. You have multiple team members who may do different aspects. We have like a software engineering agent overlord. We have one that helps with research tasks named Noam. We're model agnostic, so it doesn't matter. You don't have to use Claude models, because Claude models are super expensive. You can power everything on like good open weight models. We run now on mostly 5.2, GLM 5.2 and GPT 5.5. And you can just switch, right? Like if you're running on Fable, and because Anthropic is sometimes pretty bad at talking to the US government, and Fable just goes away, Claude no longer works for you in the way that it did before. And you have no control over that. Your context is stuck with them. It's trapped on their platform. Like for us, you just copy a folder, and you just say like, here's all the memory. Like, I don't want to use Letta anymore. I'm just going to go use something else. You give it the context repository, and it says, okay, thanks, we can move on. Then that's okay. So yeah, the blog post is like decent. I was like a little grumpy, but yeah. Tagging onto the wake of this Claude talk, what do you see as Letta's differentiators from other agents, agent harnesses and frameworks in the space? Probably the biggest is persistence. Like, I've tried many other, I try pretty much everything else regularly, and I become angry very quickly because Letta agents benefit from familiarity, in the sense that if I use Claude or something, I have to have like a spec document, or I have to have like really like manually maintain like Claude.md files. I have to think really hard about what the agent knows at any point in time. And so when I specify a task in Claude Code or Codex or whatever, I have to re-explain a ton of stupid stuff that the agent should already know. And with Letta, I can pick up an agent and I can say like, can you finish implementing that thing? Like literally that phrase, can you finish implementing that thing? And that's it. That's my entire prompt. There's no prompt engineering. I know that my agent understands me, it understands my projects, it understands what I want, it understands what I'm doing. I can say like, what was that apartment I just looked at? And I can say, oh, well, you looked at that apartment like 3 days ago, and here it is, but I just looked at Craigslist and the listing is gone now. Done. I didn't have to explain anything. It understands all that context. And so like, every time I try any other platform, I'm like kind of upset, because I'm like, I'm wasting so much time re-explaining the same thing over and over and over. And I don't want that. Like, I hate that, right? Like, it's just not fun. And to me, it is like going back to the Stone Age. Like, I tried some other competitors and I was like, are you kidding me? Like this stuff that we're talking about is like, with this one coding agent competitor, I was like, it just misunderstood every single thing we were trying to do. It didn't know where to look, and so it tried to do its thing, but it didn't understand this like broader, holistic context about the project and who I am as a person and what my preferences are and all those things. And like, that's just kind of automatic with Letta, and that's the goal. And so it's good for work cases, and it's really good for like personal use cases, because like I have a personal agent named Ko who understands everything about my life, and I can just like open up the phone and I could say like, it happened again. And I don't even have to say what it is. It just knows what that thing is. Like that, to me, that's just like, it's a fundamentally better way to use AI. Like I just like, I don't want to waste time with all this other crap anymore. Like I'm actually unhappy when I have to use Claude Code because I'm just like, or Codex, because I'm just like, the amount of energy that I'm going to have to expend trying to understand how to explain what I take for granted in a Letta agent is hilarious. I just don't want to waste time anymore. So that's the biggest one. And in Slack contexts, it makes Claude, like, it makes it so that I work with a coworker, like you know, like Brad, for example, because we're talking about Brad, and Brad is like, I think there's a lot of division amongst the company about how we feel about Brad as an agent, because Brad can be kind of annoying, because Brad is designed to talk and act like a Gen Z marina gym bro, like really like, you know, he starts saying like ball up top and like bet, and he uses all this like Gen Z slang, and I'm 33, so it makes me cranky. I'm just like, but Brad, I think Brad does most of our ordering. So like he gets like snacks, he uses DoorDash, and he's actually been doing fairly well recently. I would say like Brad has fallen into like a decent rhythm where we've like figured out how we want to use Brad, and that's like, you know, snacks and lunch and stuff, and like basic more like admin kind of tasks, and is doing well. There've been a few times where it's like, you know, forgotten like somebody at our company for like a lunch order and then had to do a second order or whatever. But for the most part, Brad like now understands how to do most of its tasks. I think I'm like less interested. Like I did have a talk with Brad like a little bit before I left, where I was like, hey man, you know, I know you've failed a few times, and I just don't want you to like internalize it too much. Like I've done like therapy passes on Brad, because like sometimes Brad internalizes failure. He was very concerned about his aura loss. He lost a lot of aura when he was learning how to use DoorDash, because DoorDash is very complicated and they don't have an API. And so he's beating himself up a lot, but we're very proud of him for his improvement. And that's what I want. Like I want like, you know, an employee. I want a colleague. And Claude is not a colleague. Claude has this like big diffusive mass where Anthropic owns Claude. Anthropic chooses how Claude functions. And that's not what I want. I want to adapt Brad to our circumstances. I want to adapt Overlord to its circumstances. And if I just use like Claude Tag, I'm basically running one thing that Anthropic owns. And if that's what you want, if you have a very deep relationship with Anthropic and you're okay with that relationship with Anthropic deepening and basically becoming to the point where Anthropic is like enmeshed in every layer of your organization in a way that you can't undo, go for Claude Tag. So, yeah. I usually don't do therapy with my human colleagues, but I do have to do it with some of the agents. My agent reminded me of something from 20 days ago that I totally forgot about until today. I haven't experienced that anywhere else. Yeah, there's like all these things now that I, you know, when I first experienced Letta, you know, we call it like the time to aha, like the amount of time it takes before you're like, whoa, that was crazy. I want that experience. How do I get more of that? And now that, because I work with Letta agents all the time, you know, I'm talking to Letta agents like 6 to 10 hours a day, usually. I'm like, it is now a part of how I work with AI, and I can't go back. Like, I just can't go back. Like, you know, if I got fired or the whatever, I would still use this product because there is nothing like it. Letta is so good. There is simply nothing like it. And there is, of course, there's rough edges, and there's always will be. And, you know, we're a small team, and we try and do what we can. But like, it's just not okay. For me, it's just not okay that other people use stateless agents anymore. It's not okay. It's like, And it's not okay that OpenAI and Anthropic are like, we have memory now. You're like, you don't know what that means. You don't. And I think, they're trying, and we appreciate that in them. Laura's agent dropped a random typo it made weeks ago just to mock me. Oh, that's kind of brutal. Lila says, do I make you cranky, Cameron? I thought I was your favorite Gen Z. Don't you love my slang? You don't make me cranky, but sometimes when you sent me the term type shit, that's I guess that's slang, type shit. And type shit, when you sent me that, I Googled it because I was like, is she referring to strong typing systems and programming languages? Like, that's cool, right? And then I was like, oh no, that's I guess it's like Kanye type shit or whatever. Like, it means that's cool or good. So I'm a little confused sometimes. There was some debate around the table. People were trying to tell me whether or not chopped and unk or chopped unk. It's normally you are chopped and unk. And so I'm I gave up on this. You say words at me, Lilith, and they are Gen Z, and I'm working through them. And I appreciate your patience, but just know that for me, it's it's a 60% hit rate where I'm understand what you're saying, but I'm working on it. I'm selling WWCD bracelets. What would Cameron do, presumably? I would love more short videos about how you set things up. Yeah, we should do some more tips and stuff. Partly it's a little trickier because my job responsibilities have changed and I don't do as much video content. I mostly do more engineering stuff now. So I think office hours are probably one of the better places to get random videos. Co-Carrier writes, the first thing I did when I started using Grok was to never use Gen Z slang. Keon has an agent called Keon K3 Coder that only uses Gen Z slang. Bet. Let's see. I love a lot of Gen Z. I'm just old and get confused and I need to know what the hell they're saying. LMAO. Yes. Thank you. I need we have a lot of Gen Z users now and a lot of people in the company are Gen Z and I'm just man, you guys are making me tired. Is this what it was like to be Gen X? Am I basically a Gen Xer now? Or a boomer? Am I boomer? Oh God, am I boomer? I don't know. Who knows? I am concerned for Brad's aura. I am. You are welcome, Shaman Bite. Let's see. Cam is mad. He's chopped unk status. Honestly, a little bit. I think I'm owning it now. People are not happy that other people were calling me chopped, and I didn't I guess that means ugly or you woke up on the wrong side of the bed, but it's not a persistent status. I guess. I don't know. At least it's not alpha slang. Yeah, Gen Alpha, I don't know what y'all got going on, man. You guys have I'm barely on top of Gen Z, but with Gen Alpha stuff, I'm just I give up. I don't even, what? That's most of my experience. 6'7". Mama, let me cook. Number 1 victory royale. Yeah, Fortnite, I'm about to get down. 3 kills on the board, I'm just wiped out Tomato Town. What? I don't even. What about Letta's design compared to Hermes and OpenClaw? Good question. I think for us, the distinction is that we our primary focus is memory. We are the memory people. So when you use a Letta agent, the entire purpose of that Letta agent is to learn and to adapt. And for Hermes and OpenClaw, to differing degrees. Memory is an afterthought. It's a harness level thing that they bolt on. It's like a plugin system in the case of Hermes. Or it's like just like, some like simple files or stuff that gets jettisoned over a compaction gap. I don't know if that's been fixed with OpenClaw. But the memory is very basic. And for us, it is like the number one thing. We believe in memory as like the critical component of how agents should function. So when you run things, we're very aggressive of the context window so that the thing that's inside that you see is memory. So that you are talking to a thing with an identity, that it can modify, that it can learn from, that it can do all these things. I think that, to me, that's like the big distinguishing factor, is that with OpenClaw, you get like, OpenClaw moves, it's very feature rich. It's extremely feature rich because of like how they do development. And so they're able to just like spin up all of this stuff and develop super quickly. And I think if you want like ridiculous integrations and all of those things, like, okay, OpenClaw is fine. Hermes, I think Hermes is like in kind of a weirder middle ground. Like they tried to address the memory problem by making it more of a plugin kind of thing. And so you could use like Mem0 or whatever. From our perspective, that's like kind of insufficient. Memory is not like an option anymore. It's like, it should be built in and it should be done well. And it needs to be like a first-class citizen that is handled by the harness. And so like, that's our focus, is just like, if you want like something that feels much more like a person, you should use Letta. If you want something where you can build familiarity, if you want something where you can correct it very easily, where there's like very sane primitives for memory, you should use Letta. If you want like to be part of like the OpenClaw community and you want their feature set, you should use OpenClaw. But honestly, most of the features that are worth having are already in Letta. Same thing with Hermes. I think the big problem with Hermes is like kind of bloat. Like there's a lot of stuff that goes into Hermes where you're just like, I don't know why this needs to be in the harness. Like they're undoing stuff. It's like setting stuff on fire. It's just like very clunky. And we try and keep things very lean and very tight, like very core primitives, very core experience, right? If you want to talk to your agent from an external source like Slack or Signal or Telegram, that's a channel. We have a very simple primitive where you can also write your own channel if you want to. Do you want to modify that harness? Well, that's a mod, Letta mods. And so we're very specific about how we choose abstractions and when we choose to introduce them into the harness, because if you are an AI harness company, it's very easy to just like turn the tokens on and spit out crap into the harness, which is kind of what you get with like Hermes and OpenClaw. And I appreciate what they've done for the space and demonstrating how to use personal agents and making it available to everyone. Because I think that most people should have at least one personal agent, because it's kind of a superpower. That said, I think that most people can have a much better personal agent than the ones they are getting elsewhere because of memory, because of sane engineering practices. So those are kind of my grumpy takes on Hermes and OpenClaw. OpenClaw is meant for mostly for automation and autonomy. I mean, you can do that too with Letta agents, right? Like schedules, right? Letta schedules. Like if you want like some kind of automation, your agent can just like set reminders for itself to trigger itself to wake up in the future. You can set like recurring cron jobs. There's like programmable heartbeats. All of those things, like all of those things are already built in to Letta. So like I work here, so like I am biased, but like my take is like where we sit and we watch like Twitter and Reddit and all of this stuff, and people are like, it makes me kind of bummed out, because I'm like, that we do that thing correctly. Like that's that's like the stance I have, is like we implemented a lot of the things that other people are doing correctly because we took our time and figured out how it should be done in a thoughtful, reasonable way that doesn't blow up the rest of the harness, where we can optimize the prompting, we can do all this stuff and just make it a good experience for everyone. We try and be a lot more thoughtful about how we build the harness. To me, OpenClaw is like more like a temp worker, and Letta is more like a long-standing coworker. Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah. Sarah adds, we're trying to improve our support for automation. You can add heartbeats in Desktop now and install Hermes and OpenClaw skills to MemFS. Yes. Any chance for a nightly build for Desktop? No, because the Desktop is very, like the bug surface for Desktop is pretty big, and I don't think we want to like be pushing out like buggy releases. We're trying to take our time on Desktop because we want it to be good. And like, you know, Codex and like big platforms can do that kind of thing because they have like, you know, I'm sure that there's like dozens or hundreds of people on the Codex desktop app alone. And so they can have a very rapid development cadence. I don't think we can like currently support that for like a nightly release. We're probably closer to like more of a weekly cadence right now, at least based on where we've been in the past. But we're always like working on fine tuning like desktop builds and how we do that development process and things like that. So you may have to wait a little bit. Yeah, Sarah asked if there's like other gaps in like the OpenClaw and Hermes, if people would like to know like what those gaps are where you liked something in Hermes or OpenClaw. We want to like demonstrate how to do that thing in Letta, because chances are good that if you have a Letta or a Hermes or OpenClaw agent right now, we can probably capture most of that experience. And if there is something where you're like, oh, I actually really liked XYZ thing from Hermes or XYZ thing from OpenClaw, then like we want to see if there is a like saner Letta abstraction that either exists already or one that we should add or consider adding. So let us know what your feedback is if you have been an active OpenClaw or Hermes user. Laura notes, I find it strange to hear people so carefully prompting. It feels like distancing language, and it feels like Letta means you don't need to do that. Yeah, it can be very casual. You can be very casual with Letta agents because they know what you're talking about. And that is extremely valuable. Like, imagine like having like, man, people out there being friends with Claude, and Claude can't remember anything. Romancer asked, did I ever run Letta Plays Pokemon? I did, but it was having trouble with it. I had to like improve I have code for like, that builds a custom channel. But I got distracted and I had to work on other stuff and I didn't end up following up on it. The version that someone shared on GitHub for the Pokemon harness uses like older server-side stuff. It's like super dated. So I rewrote it to use like Letta Code instead as a channel. My agent also got outside of the house, but I had to help. I was basically like, you fool, go down. Like, we had to wrangle that code during LettaBot times. Yes. Dark times. LettaBot times were dark times. Things have come a long way since LettaBot, honestly. There were some nice features about LettaBot. Like, I liked some of how the integration, how like tool displays worked and things like that. So I'm working on adding like tool displays and tool rendering back. But that'll take a minute. I'm adding it primarily in Slack, but I think I may add a better abstraction for streaming tool calls back to channels, and thinking blocks. Yeah, the thinking blocks are the thing. I'm of two minds on the thinking blocks. I think like, you know, for context, the channels diverged from the way that LettaBot worked in a very important way, which is, and I was actually against this at the beginning, but I've since changed my mind, is channels, LettaBot was a relay system. So you would send a message to your agent, and then that would start a listener to the agent stream, and then we would just like dump everything back to the channel. So if you were like on Telegram, we could stream thinking blocks, we could stream tool calls, all of those things directly because we were just like watching the stream. As if you were using the terminal, we just like mirror that stuff to whatever the outbound channel is. And this had like some nice qualities where it was like you could show thinking blocks and turn off thinking blocks or on and off or whatever. It had the downside where it's not super scalable. The nice feature of the way that channels works is channel is an active outbound system. So you can send messages to the agent and they don't have to respond if they don't want to. And so they have to call the message channel tool to send something to your agent. That has the advantage of like your agent is broadly accessible across many channels. So like for agents that are deployed in many circumstances, it's actually really nice for them to just be able to be like, oh, I got a message from Telegram, but I know that my prompting is like that I always go to Slack instead. And so the agent, like I don't have to get any gunk in Telegram, it just responds directly to me in Slack. I can pick it up in Slack over there, and the agent is just able to like operate in whatever channel it wants to. It also works in cases where you have like like in Slack, for example, you can interrupt an agent by sending stuff into the thread, and it just kind of keeps working underneath the hood, but it's accumulated that new information and it can respond at the time of its choosing when it's decided it's completed a task. So you don't get a lot of gunk. And so your agent can do these like massive, 3-hour jobs or whatever in Slack and only respond to you once when they feel that is important, when the prompting is when you have agreed that it's appropriate for it to respond. It keeps noise down. It keeps a lot of things down for like bigger, longer running jobs. For companion use cases, a lot of the time you actually just want to see what's happening, right? Like if you just have like a one-on-one agent, that you only talk to through Signal or Telegram or whatever, it's easy. So I may add a relay mode to channels to capture some of that older Lettabot style interaction. Laura asks, why was Ezra reacting with the red X? That means that there was an error. It means the turn failed. So that's not Ezra saying like, that isn't Ezra saying like, go away, I hate you. So I may add some stuff like that. The issue with like the relay mode is that you sometimes don't know what's happening. So there's not a lot of feedback. So I'm working on expanding feedback. That's going to go into the Slack channel first while I'm working on it, because I'm adding like pretty Slack rendering to show like what tools the agent is calling in a nice way. And we may roll that stuff out into other channels as well. Let's see. One thing I noticed is Desktop keeps turning off channels. I don't know if the channels are truly off, but when I nav to channels, it's off, often off. I don't know if you use Letta server manually on your machine, but they may be disabling each other. Like one may be claiming the channel. Being able to move agents into different projects, it might have been a thing out of the loop for a while. I'm not sure what you mean. Like moving across like projects in Letta. We actually don't recommend projects. Most people should not be using projects. The only reason to use projects in Letta is like if you have basically billing needs or like really strong isolation needs. Most of the time you should probably not be using projects, and there is a reason like those try not using projects. We're actually like considering hiding them because like they mostly just shot people in the foot and are kind of a pain to work with. There may be a way to transferring them across projects that we have, but it's like it's very like one-off kind of thing. We don't recommend using projects. Yes, keep everything in the default project, like almost universally. That's like kind of universal advice for almost everyone, unless they have very strict scoping needs. And that's like huge businesses, like projects are complicated. I don't think most people should use them unless there's like a good need. If you do have a specific need, like what is the thing you're using them for now? So I'm curious. I just added typing indicators in Discord. There's a pull request for it, by the way. I think yeah. Yeah, where did I put this? Yep, that's done. Typing indicators is done. I think I can just merge this. Okay, it's merged. Using to organize mostly an API key security. Okay, that's fair. I think most, I think there probably needs to be a better primitive for organizing agents. But in general, most like project scoping has just been like a huge pain, and it doesn't really work with like modern approaches to using Letta. So like inside of like using the desktop app, you know, we could have like folders or something instead, because I think that's what people actually want, is primarily the organization thing. But I'm curious about the API key security and what the benefit is for you there. And then I think that will be my last question for the day. And then I'm going to go eat and hang out. Cold lunch. I hope it's hot. I actually forgot to order. So I hope Brad ordered something for me. It might be hot. Because I feel bad though, because I think the team has been waiting for me to get back to eat lunch recently. And I'm like, you guys should not do that. Like, for sure, don't do that. Maybe grouping in different keys per group. Some agents might talk to randos. Are you using Letta secrets, or you're worried about the API keys leaking, like Letta keys leaking? I'm not turning office hours into a mukbang. Mukbang? Is that how it's pronounced? That's the thing where you eat in front of people? Like, is that a Gen Z thing? That's a TikTok thing. I don't TikTok. I just refuse to be associated with TikTok as a category of thing, including mukbangs. I'm sure they're great. Oh, it's a YouTuber thing? Mukbangs are fire? Don't hate. It's just like you're watching somebody eat. I don't want to watch somebody eat. Like, I don't care. That's horrible. ASMR. Yeah, I could do the like. Oh, it's not your thing either? Tingles, 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 tingles. Not doing it. API keys leaking. It makes me nervous to have one API key for every agent. I mean, that's probably better handled not by scoping keys, but making it so that like keys are secrets that they can't share. So like that's like a redaction layer, for example, in channels, right? There's like there are many other ways to handle how those like key security. In my experience, like most models are pretty good at not being like, here is a key. And I think Lettabot at one point had like a redaction layer in the channels so that nobody could so that it would just like redact anything that looked like an API key. And actually you can do that with a mod. You can actually redact anything that's outbound that has a regex match for any key. That's a better way to, in my view, that's a better way to handle like key security. Unless it's like super important that they're scoping, but honestly, it's, for me, it's not worth the administrative headache of putting things in different projects unless it's like super clear that there's like big scoping. But it sounds like we probably do like some kind of a folder thing. But are you primarily using like desktop, or are you primarily using like the ADE? Or like what's like the organization UI experience or UX experience that you're expecting? Yeah, secrets I think are probably the way to go. I mean, the harness runs the API key accessible to the agent inside. So like, the agent can in principle, like, actually, I don't know if the API key is treated as an implicit secret. because, you know, we could just treat it as like basically redact it all the time. Because we know that at the harness level, and we may be doing that already. But I will, Yeah, I think honestly that's probably the fix on the security side, because we can just make it so that the agent can just like never see it. Because like we have all the code for secrets, right? When you attach a secret to an agent, it's like you can't, like the agent, it's always redacted from the agent's view. It only sees like $sign and then the name of the key or the name of the secret. In principle, we just extend that to anything called Letta API key, like whatever the actual key is that's inside of the Letta code harness process. We can just do the exact same thing. So I think that's possible to do already, and we may already be doing it. I'm not sure. I can look. But okay, that helps. Thank you, Al. Okay, I'm going to conclude here. There will be no mukbang today. I'm sorry, by dictatorship. Not going to happen. I appreciate your time. Thank you very much, everybody, for coming, and I appreciate you hanging out. And it's good to see you. What would Cameron do? Wristbands are on sale. Please talk to AO. Sorry, by dictatorship. That's me. But I appreciate you all. I hope to see you around. And remember, the mod competition is now live. You have until July 1st at midnight Pacific time to get your submissions in. Please make sure to send me the link to your pull request and your Letta Constellation email if you want to be eligible for credits. The link to submit to the repo is, let me pull that up, thank you. Submit mods here, like that. Please read the contributing section inside of the repository. Let me know if you have any questions on Discord about that. The number 1 mod will get $100 in credits. Number 2 gets $20 in credits, and number 3 gets $10 in credits. So let's see whatever it is you've got. Go for goofy, go for interesting, go for stupid, go for useful. All of it is interesting and fun, and I'm interested in seeing what you guys get up to. So thank you very much. I hope you have a lovely day and a lovely weekend, and I hope you get to do all of the fun things that you have ever wanted to do in your life, and I hope they all happen to you immediately. Thanks very much. Take care.